Well, good morning, everyone. We are here in one more episode of Game Changers. That's who we try to bring in. And today we have the pleasure to have here two big game changers on our world, on the tennis world, because they become probably two of the biggest influencers in tennis in the industry, and great coaches, and they come from different countries. We have Ashley Neaves from Britain, and we have Davor Dekaris from the world, no? Because he was born in Croatia, live in Germany, and make the transition to the US.
Yes.
But I want to start with Ashley. Tell us a bit about you.
Thanks for having me. I mean, it's amazing to be here with you. We've had a few days of coaching together, so it's been great to be on court with you. And I'm a tennis coach at heart. I actually don't like the word influencer. I feel like I'm more of a tennis coach that makes videos. So that's me. I've got a club in the UK on the south coast in Portsmouth where
Nice.
I've got a team of coaches, and we coach all levels of player from 3 years old up to 93 years old, which I love. I love the variety of working with lots of different players, and it's been a career that I've always known that I wanted to do. When I was a young junior player, I started playing tennis when I was about 8 years old and played all the way through till I was about 18, and got to a stage where I had to make a decision whether I wanted to pursue a career in playing, or whether coaching was my journey. And to be honest, I wasn't quite at the level to make it as a professional tennis player, and I didn't quite have the financial backing. So I started coaching to pay for my travel expenses, as lots of coaches did, and ended up enjoying the element of coaching more than playing, because I could feel that I was making a much bigger difference with the young junior players than I was able to make with my own game. And so, I've coached ever since. I'm now 36 years old, so I've been coaching for about 19, 20 years. And it's a career that I love. I feel very fortunate to be able to do what I love every day. And the social media journey came when it was the COVID pandemic, and our tennis club had to close in the UK. We had a lockdown, and I was just making videos in my back garden because I had nothing else that I could do for my players at the club. Just basic ball skills, just to keep the club members active and thinking about tennis.
Nice.
And then when I came out of the pandemic and got back onto the court, I had amazing feedback from all of the members saying that they loved, getting out into the garden and playing tennis. And I enjoyed the process of learning how to film and how to edit videos. And so I've continued ever since. And it's been a cool journey. Got to meet people like yourself and travel around the world with it. So it's been pretty magical.
And Coach of the Year in 2017, no?
Yeah. So I was Coach of the Year for the LTA. So that was a pretty big honor, something that I didn't expect. And it came off the back of a few things that I did. I was working in high performance tennis at the time. So I was working with some of GB's best junior players. Now they're actually out in the States playing college tennis, which is cool.
Right.
And also, I ran a big disability tennis program. So in the UK, we were coaching wheelchair players, and we were coaching visually impaired players. So one of the players that I coached was blind, and they were the national champion as well. So I think the way that the award came about was because I was doing quite a lot of different coaching elements, but at quite a high level. So pretty chuffed to get that award. So it's something that's probably helped to boost my career as well.
That's congratulations. And with my foundation, we do a lot of programs for disability and handicap and people. So when people get involved in that, we're very, very honored and inspired by you. And so British tennis is special, and always has like very, very special players. Like we had the luck to have Andy Murray or Joan Conta, that they go through our programs and they develop themselves. But at this moment, you have two very, let's say, different players, marquee players, like Raducanu and Draper. How important are those type of players, that they are, on top of being great players, they are also driving so much behind them?
Massively important.
Mm.
We saw on the back of Andy Murray's success how much tennis in the UK benefited from it. You know, things like funding. You know, the LTA get funding from a governing body called Sport England, and there's always, you know, when you have a player of that level, it brings more eyes into tennis, and that helps when it comes to funding some of these programs, whether it be disability programs or inclusivity programs, getting more people into the
So on
sport.
top of Wimbledon, they have also the help from the government.
Yes, exactly. And so having a player that's playing at such a high level, you know, Andy Murray obviously did amazing things. But on the same side, when we're talking now about Emma and Jack, they are, you know, in the limelight. And I think Emma's had a pretty tough ride since her win at the US Open. She's not been quite as successful. She's still a phenomenal player and still doing great things in tennis. And Jack's had a tough time with injuries as well. But yeah, these two are definitely the players right now that all of the juniors in the country are looking up to and inspiring. And so I think it's important that for them, if they can just add some consistency into their game, if they can stay fit and play enough tennis, then in the long term, I think there's going to be a lot more juniors that get into the sport. And then we've got a lot of players beneath them as well, a lot of younger players coming up too. So it's an exciting time for British tennis, but it's not easy. I don't know what it's like for Spanish tennis, but these players also get a lot of bad press as well. So I think the media, not just in tennis but in all industries, there's positives and there's negatives that come from it, and so there's a lot of pressure.
I would say that the British players, they have the extra pressure because in some way the British press is the Anglo-Saxon press. It is not only about Britain. It's so much more influence because they are in Australia, New Zealand, India, all the US. So all the British press, it's global. It's not like Spanish press is Spanish.
Yeah,
It doesn't transcend. A bit in South America, but in the British players, they have this big extra pressure on the day to day because they become global so fast.
Yeah, totally. And I would also say, you know, Great Britain is a small island, right? And a Grand Slam nation. So there's a bit of pressure that comes from that too.
Yeah, but what I think that pressure and that we felt it through all those years, but then Andy broke that ice because I always had like Herman made like 6 semifinals in Wimbledon, but he never passed us the last step because he had to be playing with all those top guys. And but then Andy was able to break through with the top 3 and make such a big difference.
And the interesting thing, we spoke over dinner about Andy coming to the academy here as a junior. I know you were asking me questions, but I'm like really intrigued about how he was, because you had lots of stories about, you know, how he was when he came to you at 14. What was he like, and how did him being here impact his tennis?
Well, I believe that, first of all, the incredible thing is that he came to Barcelona because they were playing with Rafa in one tournament, and he wanted to go somewhere to learn because he had this kind of game, like a more traditional Spanish style. And Rafa told him, go to Barcelona. There's this new academy that with Emilio and so on and so on. And then the mom called me, and then they came to try out and to talk, and they have the Jamie, the other brother, that was more kind of like a servant volley, and then the mother made, I think, very good decision because she sent Andy to us and Jamie to Germany, and I think that was very smart because sometimes people want to have the brothers together, but I think the separation was good because they both grow with the experience, because this is not about only learning how to play. They living away, they studying away, they need to learn the process, they need to learn the values, the discipline. And all these players, when they go away, like if I talk to Andy now, I'm sure that what you got when you were in Spain, he don't remember about how many drills, forehands, backhands. He remembers about the hard work, the discipline, when we had to go up to his room, let's go train. When we had to do, go, now you're super tired, and then you have to go to the gym. And I was lucky enough at that time that even if he was not working for me, Pato Alvarez was also coming there to train with his players. So when I had like a really good juniors, like and he was like 14, 15, and then when he started to be 16, 17, that he started to play very well on the juniors, all the players, like whoever was coming just to hit, like Moya and Albandian, they loved to hit with him because he was so steady. And to make the story short, like the first day that they arrived with the mother, when he was arriving there, like he was so shy, like, and walking like this with the legs, like skinny, like hell. And when mom comes, no, my kid he's a talent. And I was thinking,
Really?
oh, he's a talent. It doesn't look like that. But then we went to play, and because I like to always play with the kids, no, and then I push, and I recently retired, so I try to push him, and the kid, bam, angle. And then I push him another time, go to the net, bam, passing. And the next one, I arrive to the volley, and then lob. And then another cross, like, so he had this skill of coming out from difficult situations that you can see that they are special. And then he just had to build up all those things around it, become more aware that the little details are very important, that to go to the gym, to go to stretching, to get strong. He was super skinny. And then he started to build it up, and as
he became
yeah,
big.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a process.
Yeah.
So he arrived at 14. When he was big, was 22, 23.
Yeah.
So there's 8 years of work, or of very hard work, and he make it like his job, no. And I also have to say that I think from the tennis and documentaries that they are, I think his documentary really shows who he is.
Yeah.
Because the injuries that he had they were like anyone else retired.
Game over.
So like myself, I had to have at 32, I had this injury in my shoulder, and at the time we were not practicing so well. So, and they tell me, no, you have to take out the trapezius and then go down, dig in, clean. How long is gonna take to come back? No, maybe 9 months, 10 months, if you're lucky, 8 months. And I was already 33 years. I'm not beating anybody anymore. So then I go and I barely stop, and I didn't have the surgery, but he had the capacity and of that. He wanted to show again that he could come back, and that it shows who he is, and how tough the journey back was. And in the documentary, I think it shows perfectly who he is. And so like, and you have a student that you're teaching him all these values, but then the student beats the coach in most of them, and he become like an excellent example of how to become a professional in what you do. No?
Amazing. I love that story.
Yeah, no, he was a great kid, also very focused, and also he's a good guy. He always, with everybody around him, all the friends in the academy, his roommate. Look, two of his roommates, they were his coaches later. Danny Valverdu, a Peruvian kid was his name. Well, that's my I traveled with him. But all the others who study with him and they spend those years with him, when they call him, he still invite everybody.
Yeah.
So he, like it's good essence, good values, and even he came to the academy. We name a court on his name, and we have good relation. Judy sent another player here from Scotland, and she trained here now. She's also doing a lot of social, and was great. So we maintain good relation.
Amazing. Love it.
Yeah, and so you work with your LTA, and LTA has a lot of funding, but it's always like people also criticizing or not. We don't know if using the resources as is if they should. What is your opinion about what it could be done more and on any stage of the pyramid, let's say from juniors, clubs, initiation, to make even more players on the thing?
It's a big question. There's a lot of different things that can happen. I think one of the biggest challenges, and I'm not sure if it's just in British tennis or if it's a global thing, but these governing bodies, they tend to have a frequent changeover of staff and managers in each department, which makes it difficult to really work through a long-term plan of development. And quite often when a new person comes in, they try to make their mark, they try to make their stamp. And sometimes that means changing something that maybe shouldn't have been changed or didn't need to be changed. I think the UK, one of the problems in the UK is the climate and the weather. I think we could do with more indoor facilities for sure. It's not like being here in Naples, Florida, the beautiful sunshine that you get all the time. So more indoor facilities. The competition structure, I believe, could be better. We were talking earlier, I think more team competitions would be a great way to help to keep junior players in tennis for longer, because it's quite hostile as a young junior when you start playing in these tournaments. You, unlike other sports, you turn up on your own. You are battling against other players. It's a one-on-one sport, which is fine when you develop the resilience and the mental toughness. But from a young age, it can put kids off tennis quite quickly. So I believe from a young age, kids need to do more team-based competitions to help them to feel part of something and help them to learn the mental toughness skills while still enjoying the competitive environment. So I definitely think more junior competitions with team-based things, more competitive opportunities at the low level of pro tennis. So, if there were more ITF tournaments in the UK, more futures tournaments in the UK, it would allow British tennis players to gain ranking points. Because there are so many good players in the UK and too little amount of tournaments, the tournament draws are stacked. It's so difficult to get into a tournament in the UK. So lots of the British players have to travel into Europe and into other countries to compete, to get into the qualies even of these tournaments. And so, yeah, there's not enough high-level tournaments to cater for the demand. And then when it comes to, where the governing bodies spend their money, there are always different schemes. So the LTA now are spending more money on paddle, which is a good thing to keep people active. I enjoy paddle, but it then means that money isn't being spent on tennis. So yeah, there's a lot of subjects we could cover, but I would say to put it into a whole, I think team competition for juniors, improving the competitive structure, and more indoor courts.
Right. And as a coach, if you will have to define yourself, who you are as a coach?
As in my kind of coaching philosophy?
Yeah, like.
So my coaching style has changed. So I've been coaching for around 20 years now, and I would say when I first started, I was very much into technique and improving, the technique
foundation,
of
no?
yeah. So, and looking at biomechanics and the science behind different, how to get power, how to add spin, and these sorts of things. Since then, I've gradually evolved further and further away from technique, because I understand now that everybody is different. There is no one perfect technique. Of course, there's certain things within shots that need to be in place. But what's more important for me is intention. So when I'm working with players, first I look at what they're doing with the ball. And when I talk about that, it's tactical. What you do with the ball is your tactics. What you do with your body and your racket is your technique. And so for me, tactics come first. If a player is able to put the ball exactly where they want it from any position on the court, then they're doing a good job. But most of the time, me in the past, I would jump into changing something technical before asking the player, can you hit the ball deeper? Or can you hit the ball higher? And normally, if you ask them to change something with the ball, the technique will actually take care of itself. So I would say my coaching's become a lot more simplified. I focus on tactics first, technique second. The time that I'll jump in and change a technique is if I feel like a technique's going to injure a player, or if it's going to limit their progress, and that's when I'll jump in. So I've still got the technical knowledge. I just use it more sparingly. I don't jump straight into technique. So yeah, that probably doesn't really explain my philosophy, but overall it's a simple approach. I listen more than I speak as well. That's something that I've learned.
Will you have the goal to go on the tour? You
Great.
love to do that?
Yeah, great question again. So I've worked with a couple of players at the low level of the tour, and really enjoyed it. And I feel like I would love the challenge of it. The difficulty, as you've known, coaching on the tour yourself, the difficulty is being away from home for so many weeks. I have a wife as well, so that would be difficult on the relationship too. Um, and what I really love about my coaching now is the variety of different people that I see, and I feel like I can make a difference with lots of people. Whereas when you're on tour, you have one player, and lots of weeks you're losing, right? So if your player is getting knocked out in the early rounds of tournaments, you are almost their punching bag. So mentally for the coach, it's tough. It's very tough for the player, very tough for the coach, and so I feel like at some point in my career, I'd like to take the leap and have a go at it. But right now, I'm loving where I am, having a nice base at a club, working with lots of players, and making an impact that way. But I'll never say never. I think it's something I'd love to do.
And if you could choose one player to coach, who you
Amazing question.
coach?
So we were speaking about being coachable the other day, weren't we? And I think there are some players on the tour, even at the highest level, that seem to be very coachable in a way that they're open-minded, willing to learn, wanting to get better. Sinner being one of them. At world number one, he still wanted to become less predictable. He still wanted to change his game. Rafa is a great example. Novak is a great example. These players are players that are changing parts of their game when they're at the highest level. There are other players on the tour that seem to be less coachable. So firstly, I'd like to work with a coachable player, clearly. But I'd also like to work with a player that I feel has potential to do things in their tennis that they haven't done before. So I wouldn't say I'd like to coach Sinner because there's only one way he can go. And so I'd probably avoid that. But yeah, somebody around the 200 in the world would be nice. I'd like to get somebody to break into the top 100 because that changes things for a player. It becomes more sustainable for them with the finances. And so, yeah, I'd like the challenge of taking somebody from around 200 to 300 into the top 100. Who that would be, I don't know.
And that's
what about you, Emilio?
what me?
Who would you take on?
Who would you take on, and what is important to you for that player to have as characteristic?
Well, it's about what Leslie just said. Is first of all, it's about the person that you have a good relationship, and that he wants you to be part of his team because he wants to improve, and the improvement is the number one absolute thing to make that kind of work, and to take players, I think to get to that point where you get that type of relation, it's easier to have it with someone that is from your same background, same culture, same country. Sometimes that makes things easier or more granted. So then you can understand better in some ways. But I think that for me, any young player who wants to come out from a difficult situation, those challenges, I think that's what I like. For example, a player, let's say Raducanu now, she criticized her 7 coaches. She don't know if she wants to have a coach, but she keeps. Now she looks like she went up, and now she's going down. So inside her, for me, she lost matches, so she becomes kind of like a loser. But the people who has a lot of qualities, when they become like that, when I coach Arantxa, that she went from 2-3 in the world to 20 in the world, and she become like that because she was gonna play the matches on the important moments, she was losing the matches. So your soul, as a player, you become kind of like a loser. You don't know anymore how to play those points. You are not confident. You are not believing yourself. So I think that some of those cases, that's what I would like to go through and make a player who is a loser to make it a winner, which is the most difficult, like Sampras did on the last round, or Agassi did, like those players who are on a slope, and then you make them go back and enjoy again the tennis. Look, Medvedev, he's done it. So he was really good, top 2 in the world. He started to go down. He went to 20 or so the last couple of years. It was not But now, how is he playing? Yesterday, he played this amazing match against Alcaraz, and he outplayed him. So, and he outplayed the guy who outplays everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see today with the final with Sinner, no? But and that's, I think, it's all on the player. The coach, we just need to touch the dots to make the player go on the technical, on the tactical, on the physical, on the mental, and do it in a 360 way to show who they are. Because Medvedev already is been winning slams and number two in the world, but now he's playing back again, and he changed his coach, which is very good because he's French coach, but they were many years together, and then he took a Swedish coach, different voice, more relaxed, looking more probably to work on other things, and he adapt his game to do that, and now he's playing inside out, and you know, like, so he evolved a bit, and now he's doing so well. Yeah, and now that you ask me, let's go on to you, Davor, a bit, and tell us a bit about your who, all these roots that you have, you know, because you Croatia, you are Croatian, you are German, you are American, you are just tennis.
So yeah, I was born in Germany, and my parents are from Croatia, and I was raised bilingual, and I always loved tennis, and I haven't played on the tour. I played a few futures, and in the early years, as similar to Ashley, I always had a passion to teach and to teach others, and I wanted to become a teacher in school actually, and I did my master degree in sports science and Spanish, and that was my pathway. And then it came different because when I was done with my studies, I came to the U.S. And that was a brand new world for me because the coaching in the US and the structure in the US is way different than in Germany, for example. So in Germany, we have those pure tennis clubs, which I belong to, like in Berlin, where I'm from, and they're definitely structured. So in the US, you have the country clubs that have golf, that have a community inside. They have the courts are amazing. Everything is so beautiful. In the U.S., it's like a big bubble. And I feel like growing up in Germany, in Berlin, it was not that nice. So sometimes, I'm fortunate. I feel like that I grew up in that environment because I feel like sometimes we cater too much to the kids here in the U.S. And especially I spent the last 15 years before I came to work for Emilio in Louisiana in the New Orleans area, and we lived in this North Shore area, and it's like it's like a bubble, and the kids are very protective, and protected by the parents as well. I remember when I was younger, we were just left at the tennis courts the whole day, and my parents didn't even know where I am from 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. And then they picked me up from the courts, and we played tennis. We were way more outside, and we were talking about that at the dinner that we have, that the children, the phones are so much of a distraction now, and the social media. And as you mentioned, it can be a good thing, the social media as well, but the kids don't use it the right way. So I feel like a lot of distractions on the pathway to become a very good tennis player. So those things changed, and and then I started coaching early. In my first club in Germany, I started at 16. I'll be 44 now in a few days, and so that's 28 years of coaching. And I did the same like Ashley, super technical at the beginning. I always thought if you have the perfect technique, you're going to be such a good player. But it comes to different things, like, as you said, tactical, footwork. The physical part is so important. And then teaching the kids, that's what I love about our academy here, the right values. And I think like Emilio is a master in that, to give the kids like discipline. They work hard, respect, and effort. Those are the three things that are so important, because in nowadays when you work with the kids, if they don't show that, you can't get everything out of them, and you have to nurture that values, and it is not easy, especially so in an academy setting like here, we do everything we can to guide our players to become respectful, disciplined, and the whole staff, like Lucas, Emilio, Victor, everyone, Oscar, everyone who works here is constantly with the players. And that's what I love about this place. They're guiding the players every day in the right direction. Some will take it, some will don't take it, right? That's how it works, unfortunately. But the ones that soak it in and live the values, and they're tired, but they still do it. School is important as well. Obviously, one of the most important things at our academy, we have such a great program in school. So those are priorities, and once they set the priorities right, I feel like the other things are going to come automatically. So
Because values and discipline and these things people tend to think is philosophy, is a culture. And culture becomes very important. But if you analyze well what Ashley just said, I always want to say that, for example, the respect, no respect. If you play, if I'm playing against you, if I don't respect your game or any shot in that, I can respect you, but for example, he has no good backhand, so I throw the ball to your backhand, and I'm not gonna be respecting your backhand even if it's not that amazing. So you work on the respect, but you work on respect on the court, and or the discipline. For example, the discipline of knowing or analyzing where the ball is. So if the ball is short, what movement I'm gonna make, what shot I'm gonna make, where I'm gonna hit it. If the ball is middle, or if it's deep. So if it's deep and I want to go against the ball, or I hit a crazy half volley, or I have no chance on the rise, and then probably the volley I'm gonna do a home run. No, but so when tennis is a sport that the discipline on every shot from yourself and from the other one. So if you are Sinner, is so disciplined, because every time the ball lands in one place, he's hitting the same shot, and every time they make the run, he hits the same shot. So, and that's the real discipline. That when you are doing the things well, and then that discipline is easier. But when you have to play an important point, and you are super nervous, and then in that moment, that's when that counts, and that's when those guys are more disciplined.
But also, it goes back to the culture that you were talking about, because if you're living and breathing discipline, respect in all things in life, it becomes easier on the court, doesn't it? And so it kind of it's a circle.
Totally, but people think, no, this is outside.
Yes.
It's arriving on time.
Yeah.
Is this so? It's a reflection of what you're gonna do on the court, but on the court is the number one most absolute important to do it. And continue with that, Davor. You same question as with Ashley. As a coach, who are you as a coach?
And when we spoke before, I mentioned that for me, I'm very feeling based. So I feel like, when I coach, you have those very strict coaches. You have coaches that let go more. You have coaches that have, as more, what I am, like feel based. So I feel like, in my experience, like we talked about it with the empathy, if you care deeply for the player, and you not just go on the court and do your things on the court with the player, sometimes the players come and they're not in a good mood, and then you have coaches who scream at them, or but you don't know why that player comes in like that. And for me, always, I like to know everything about the player. Why is he feeling that way, or she? What is going on in their minds? And I feel like that empathy part, I feel like I like to connect with my players. Everyone is different, and I get the most out of them. Once that connection is there, the players will do what you tell them, and they will listen, and they will respect you, and they will do everything on court. Yeah.
And you had already some experiences with the Pro Tour, no?
Yeah.
As a player with Nicky Pilic,
Yeah.
no? And
when I
and where you were training there, and did you have any relation also with one of these pro players that they're on the tour as well?
Right now, yeah. I know Marin Cilic, so we've been to Indian Wells, and I watched Marin there, and I can just tell, for him, Grand Slam champion, and he is in the training session with Damir Zumur, and he sees me, and then another break, he takes me 5 minutes to the side, and talks to me, and he makes you feel, and that's what I love about Marin. He makes his team feel they're equally part of the whole journey, and he's always has an ear and listens, and he likes to analyze, and he asks a lot of questions, and I love that. When I was there, he asked the coaches after every ball how he feels, how he hits the ball, and it's cool to see how every player is different. But what I love about Marin is he's open-minded, he's coachable, he puts the work in. He had the surgery on his knee. 2 years ago I spoke to him, and he wasn't sure if he wants to do the surgery or not, and he ended up doing it the right way, and he's back now, and it's nice to see him, like competing pain-free. He's a champion, and then if he would have gone out without being back on the court 100%, I think that would have always been a negative feel for him there. So it's nice to see him moving freely and playing, and he's a great guy. So the great champions, and I've been a little bit around Marin, like they're humble, they ask questions a lot. When I interviewed Paul Annacone, for example, he said the same thing about Federer. Like they all ask questions. Novak asked questions the whole time. And I feel like that's important. They're curious. They want to improve. When they're on peak of their game, they want to get better. And that's a quality. I feel like that all the champions, they have that. They ask you. And once they understand why you want to teach them something, they will do it without asking anything.
And you create this amazing platform that so many people follows, and you focus a lot on coaching, no? On
Yeah.
coaches, and give space for coaches.
Yeah. So used to be more, because things changed over the years. Facebook was big, and I shared a lot of things. I shared Ashley's content. There's many great coaches out there in the world. But yeah, I wanted to create a platform to give back. I posted a lot of your coaching. There's many great minds out there, and a lot of them, they're maybe not technically, with cameras and everything, so they didn't show what they have, and what they have. And I love, like for example, unfortunately, one of my mentors, Andy Brandy, passed away, but Andy, didn't know how to do things with the camera, so he was so nice. I had a cameraman. He came. We recorded a lot of things, because I feel like those coaches that are so long in the business and they've seen all that, those, I wish they would give more to the next generations, like you do. You go still to every country. You educate other coaches. You take your time. You give back what you accumulated over the last 50 years, and you give it to so many coaches. Without you and others that do that, I feel like tennis would even be on a even lower level. I feel that's underestimated how much time and love you, for example, spend in doing that. And there's a few other coaches that do the same. I just wish always, that's why I wanted to create a platform to showcase more great coaching, because I feel like we have pickleball, we have padel now, and if we don't watch, tennis, they, might slow down even more in the future. It's dangerous, because padel is fun.
In Britain also, padel
Yeah.
has a big push now from
big push.
federation and from everybody, no?
Yeah, absolutely. The LTA are putting money into supporting clubs to build paddle courts. So I mean, it's great fun until it steals tennis courts. We don't want that.
Yeah, but you don't think that I always support that people that and the clubs that they put some paddle, even if they have to take 1 or 2 courts away, because it's normally the people who plays paddle is people that is starting to not play so much tennis. So these ladies from the clubs who don't play so much tennis because it's so difficult.
Mhm.
So the paddle is a bit easier to play in it, and the key for me is that they bring people to the clubs, and then the clubs have more life. The moms bring the kids to the tennis school, because the paddle school is much more limited physically, so it's better that the kids learn the tennis, and they're gonna do much more physical effort than only in the paddle or in the pickleball. So I always try to look at as a positive for the clubs, and I know there is a lot of people that they go against it, but if LTA is investing a lot of money in padel, they should not forget their core. Their foundation is the tennis, so hopefully they're gonna keep investing. There was a time that every club that was doing a tennis court in England, if it was clay, the LTA was paying for it, no?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, they do similar for grass courts now because in the UK we have this thing called County Week where all the best adult players in the country get together and play for their county against other counties, and they have to be on at grass court venues. So the LTA put money into those grass courts to maintain them to a good level. So yeah, that's another thing we could talk a long time about. But it's yeah, so they are protecting certain things, and grass courts is one of them.
and also tell us a bit. You do an amazing podcast with Greg Ruseski, no?
Yeah, so recently in the last couple of months started it. So it's called Off Court with Greg, and it's Greg, myself, and a journalist called Kevin. And we're going to interview you shortly after this podcast and get you on there because I want to hear you played against Greg, Indian Wells 93, I think. So we're going to get the juice out of you for that one.
The juice out.
But yeah, it's good fun. Get to meet cool people like you do with your podcast. And as a coach, I find it amazing. I grew up watching Greg Rosetsky and Tim Henman in the UK, and they were both sat on this podcast with me, and I was asking them questions. So for me, it's a dream, and yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for me to learn a lot more about tennis and a lot more about coaching. But yeah, I'm going to quiz you about that match.
No problem. Greg was a great guy, and he had like all these improvement. You know, like when he was younger, he's younger than me, and so he arrived on the tour. He had like this serve that was like a snake going around everywhere, and lefty, and but very hard worker, become stronger physically, go more, maximize his game slowly, stepping more in. He did kind of like similar process than me, that I initially was playing more topspin, but then slowly I realized that with the slice and inside the court I was more aggressive, and then he started to go with that slice even forward and covering the net, and luckily when I play him, he still didn't have that knowledge so much, so he thought that he was going to agree on my backhand, but I didn't have such a bad passing shot, and in some way he was kind of surprised, but then I start to attack his backhand and going in. So I play with his game, and I feel like that.
I love it that you remember these matches because you've played hundreds and hundreds of matches in your life. But if we ask you about a match, it's still in there, isn't it?
Well, I don't remember the important points because I won, and winning is normal. You know, yes. I always say that the happiness that a victory gives you is not comparable with the sadness that a defeat makes you. So the defeats, you remember the points that you were supposed to win, you remember, and you have them written in your brain. But if you play a match point against you and you win it, you don't remember. It's normal.
Yeah, that's good. I wish it was normal for me to
win. No, it's good. And I don't know. You can guys ask yourself some questions as well if you want, Davor.
Actually, you go ahead.
I think for me, it's how did you, Emilio, translate your tour level coaching your sister, to then running an academy? Like that intrigues me because it's two very different coaching roles. How did that happen, and how did it work?
Well, I believe that is similar. It's completely similar. The important in coaching is that the player improves. So if you have a super high-end player, so that it has a compact game, has everything, but everybody can improve. I'm sure Carlitos today is thinking, because he lost yesterday, how I can improve to not being outplayed by Medvedev. So his coaches, they're going to have to work on that, you know. So, but it's the same with a beginner. It's the same with an adult. If you just put the energy to be able to make improvements slowly, because the problem in tennis is that it's slow. Whatever you want to improve, it's going to take time because you need to create the habit. You need to make the repetitions. You need to do it. And unfortunately, if I teach you and I put you all the balls here, you're going to do it sooner. But as soon as you play against Davor, the balls are not going to be here. So you're going to have to adapt. And when you're going to start to move, and then you go to your old habit. And then it's a fight within yourself of how to do it. The other day, JJ Wall was here, and he was Western, they decide with his coach to change to Eastern. 1 month, all the balls through the fence, but he continued until no fence, and he never went back. So, but that's that commitment.
Yeah.
So as a coach, I need to convince you to commit to whatever we want to change, if there is a change. But it's a change technically, it can be a change tactically, because you want to attack all the time cross court, and you never go inside out. So we need to add the inside out to make the cross court good. Because if you just play cross court, I wait on the cross court, and you don't damage me, you know. So it's always about being on with the player to be able to do that. And when you make an academy, so, and this I understood from the first moment, is you have to create the culture, and you have to create a system that everybody understands, that the fundamentals of the system, of how we want the players to move, how we want the players to play, to do similar type of work. And then every coach is gonna tell the same thing in a different way, because we all have different voices. We're gonna see the things different, but you cannot go from black to white. You have to go all of them on the same path, on the same place. And so all our coaches, they come in, even the people who comes in that they are a bit not so convinced to try to work one way, because people think that if you work one way, the player is going to play that way. No, every player is tailor made.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you teach them with the same system. You can have a servo volley and you can have a grinder with topspin. It's just about the style of the player. It's not the style of the system.
Yeah.
The system makes the player go with their style to the best options
maximize
possible.
the level.
Yeah, and that's when you have a system. And then we taught all our coaches. We taught we even teach coaches from away. We do courses here in Spain, and we always try to improve the level of the coaching. And in Europe, there tends to be a higher level of coaching. Here, it was a bit more difficult, and there is not so much culture about improvement in the coaches.
Yeah.
But slowly we've been doing it, and we're pretty happy with it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Talking about mental strength. So when you were on top of the world in tennis, how much did you put effort in working on mental strength when you were playing, and how did that help you? Because you're running a business now, Barcelona, Naples, many other things you do. How did your tennis and the mental strength and dealing with resilience and all those things help you in the business world as well, which you're in now? Like how did you what did it do for you?
Well, tennis is a great university for anything that you do, because it's one of the few sports that you lose all the time. So there is only one winner per week, and the rest we lose. So, and in the matches, you lose a lot of points. We always talk about these statistics, about how much points we win, we lose. So you have to lose a lot of points to be able to be competitive. So if the top 3 or 4 in the world, they win 55% of the points, but they lose 45% of the points, means that they lose 1 every 2 points. The best ones, Alcaraz, lose once every 2 points. So that teaches you that you're gonna lose, and you're gonna do things bad, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you accept the mistakes to be able to play the next point with your best options. And then you lose it again, and then you go back. So, you know, tennis is you are like, you become like a wolf waiting for the prey to make a small mistake. Until that happens, you don't eat. So you need to be waiting there until that happens, and then you go, and then you do your best shot. And so that in whatever you do, that you learn that you need to be aware, you need to be with intensity, you need to be totally focused to see that mistake. Because if not, you are not going to see it. When I was doing TV, sometimes I do it on site. It's much easier to see what is happening when you are on site, because you see everything, how they talk to the coach. When you do it from home with the TV, you lose so much. So if you are at home and you are not seeing everything, and on top you are not aware of what is happening, you are not going to make a difference as a commentator. You are not going to win the match. You are not going to say nothing that is going to be interesting for you who are listening, because I'm not going to see it. So and that you related with whatever is the tennis guys. It becomes like that. So many of our students, they are not tennis players, but they use the tennis adversity and resilience and losing points in whatever they do in their lives. And today they talk they are top finance in the best hands in the hedge fund in the world. They have a restaurant, they have a foundation. The difference comes from learning how to handle that losses to be able to be themselves. So that's what I like about the tennis, and that's what keeps me in it.
Wow, amazing answer.
Thank you so much, guys. Well, I think we'll talk a lot, very long. We want to thank you so much, and we wish you a lot of luck with your projects and with your networks and everything, and keep bringing good things for the tennis. We need it, and we hope that you guys, well, you're gonna be here, but that you come back soon and continue teaching together. It was a pleasure to have you, and I like the energy that you put and how well you explain the things for the students, because sometimes at the level that we thought that they were adults, and so sometimes, for example, if I explain things they don't understand it, but you tell it so well that they took a lot home. So it was a success, and we hope that these weekends, legend weekends that we have, we continue to do them, and more people coming and coming.
We're gonna add more, and the ones we did, we're gonna repeat them, and it's fun. The feedback was great.
Thank you so much,
for having
guys.
us.